The way you wake up sets the tone for absolutely everything. And if there is one thing you could do that would change your life more than anything else, it would be to prioritize your time in the morning, to make this time sacred for you, a time in which you are setting the tone and the frequency, not just for your day, but for your entire life. Now, there are literal psychological reasons that this morning time is so important. We could look at the way in which our brain is literally operating at a different frequency level first thing in the morning than it is once we're more awake later in the day. So during that time, our mind is quite literally more open and impressionable. So when we really capitalize on that time in the morning and use that time to lock in the frequency that we want to embody throughout our day and throughout our lives, we can really begin to see massive shifts and changes so quickly. So in today's podcast video, I am going to be sharing with you the number one technique that you can use, the routine in the morning that will completely shift your energetic field, effortlessly aligning you with your goals, dreams, and desires. And this will help you to effortlessly bring about the manifestation of your desires, both the conscious and even the unconscious desires, by aligning you with higher level frequencies and energies using the law of attraction. But first, let me introduce myself. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Infinity, and this is Magnetize Yourself. Subscribe for deep dives related to the law of attraction, spirituality, life, love, and so much more here on the Magnetize Yourself YouTube channel. So we are going to be talking about the number one morning manifestation routine that you can use that taps into law of attraction concepts and techniques, but in a way that is so effortless and will help you to begin moving energy in literally every area of your life. And the beautiful thing about this specific technique is that it doesn't actually require you to even have necessarily a clear picture of what you want in all areas of your life. So even if you struggle to set goals for yourself that are specific or concrete, or maybe you're just not really feeling guided in that direction recently, and you're wanting to improve your life in all aspects and areas, but you don't really feel like you're able to be super specific about defining exactly what you want, this technique will be perfect for you, because without you even needing to specifically define what you want to manifest, simply doing this technique every morning will cause you to start emitting a frequency that starts attracting in higher vibrational realities, outcomes, and experiences in literally every area of your life. And that's the other thing I love about this technique. It's that it is so completely comprehensive. So it allows you to manifest simultaneously in literally every area of your life, or at least in all of the areas that feel the most important and significant to you. So this is a technique that personally I have started using and been using for the last few years. So for me personally, prior to coming into this technique, I really struggled to find a way to get a hold of my energy and vibration consistently and start really making consistent progress towards the things that I desired. Because while I was really good at the goal setting side of things, I could come up with the things that I wanted, it was difficult for me to be able to find a technique that worked for me really consistently. So I would try different forms of meditation or visualization, but this is the number one technique that has worked the absolute best for me. And I'm so grateful every single day that I found this technique, because it has allowed me to start effortlessly moving the energy in positive ways in all areas of my life. Again, like in a simultaneous fashion that also feels so effortless and lets me feel in flow more of the time. I've read certain comments over the years from some of you who have asked how I'm able to consistently come to this channel and do reading videos and podcasts and keep a high vibrational energy. Of course, not all the time because I'm human, but I feel like I'm able to consistently bring a high vibrational energy to this space. And if I had one answer, it would probably be this technique that I'm about to share with you. And again, it's something that I've personally cultivated and refined for myself over the last few years. And so I want to share it with you. If my story sounds like yours or like how you've been feeling in your own life, then I want to share what's worked so effectively for me so that it can work in your life too. And you can start to feel like you are really having the tools and resources at your fingertips to move energy in a powerful way and manifest in your life. I also feel one more note I'd like to share about this is this technique to me is almost like a really deep form of inner work. It's not just a visualization practice. We all know obviously about the idea of visualizing your goals or speaking affirmations for your goals. And those things, of course, are powerful. But I would consider that more like sort of like surface level work. When you're speaking affirmations or you're visualizing, you're doing that consciously. What we're talking about here is like a deep subconscious work that shifts you over time. And yes, it may require consistency. Those shifts may be gradual, but over the course of time, even just, I would say 30 days of doing this technique consistently, you would feel unrecognizable in terms of your energy, your mood, your mindset, your productivity, because of how it operates on such a deep level. So the first thing that is really something I need to talk about here is, yes, that morning time is the most valuable time of our day because our subconscious is open and impressionable while we are still consciously awake at the same time. So it sort of puts us at this beautiful crossroads where we are consciously awake and aware enough to be able to direct our energy and our frequency in conscious ways. But we also aren't so far removed from sleep, that state of total detachment and total unconsciousness, that we are still kind of in that subconsciously open space that we get into while we sleep. But I do need to address that period of time that we're sleeping as well, because while this routine is something that happens at that intersection of consciousness and unconsciousness right in the first part of the day in the morning, it's also very important to be aware of how we are falling asleep and how we are sleeping, essentially, because you will wake up in a particular mood or energy state after that state of unconscious detachment that we experience through sleep. And that becomes your baseline starting point for this technique. But I first want to talk about how to get into a better baseline starting point. And so overnight while you're sleeping, your subconscious, of course, is extremely wide open, impressionable, often uncontrollable, unless you're someone who is into lucid dreaming and maybe you do have some kind of conscious control over your dreams. But for the most part, that time during sleep is very unconscious. And so our subconscious during that time is very highly receptive to information. This is why subliminals are so effective when you listen to them overnight while you're sleeping, because while you are asleep, your subconscious is wide open and subliminals are targeting the subconscious mind. So while they do still work during the day, they are actually the most effective overnight while you're sleeping and first thing in the morning. So for me, while I am doing this technique and while I'm sleeping, I like to listen to my own subliminals playlist in the background. This really helps to put me in that meditative state of being during these techniques, and it helps to operate behind the scenes in my mind to shift what's happening within me subconsciously as I'm doing these conscious morning routines. But I also find that if I listen to my subliminals playlist overnight while I'm sleeping, then I tend to be able to achieve a higher baseline energy in the morning, which makes this morning routine even more effective overall. Now, admittedly, I don't always remember to listen to my subliminals while I'm sleeping, but I listened to them last night, for example, before doing this video, and it's part of what inspired me to talk about this right at the beginning, because whenever I do listen to my subliminals playlist overnight, I always experience such a profound shift in my energy. I wake up feeling more clear, more inspired, more motivated, even more rested. I sleep more deeply when I'm listening to them, even just on a very low volume in the background. So I have personally created subliminals through my app, Sound and Soulful, for all different areas of life. And there's now a brand new feature in the app where you can even create your own customized playlist by just inputting your goal or your desire or whatever it is for you. And it will automatically scan all of the affirmations in all of my subliminals and find the ones that are most relevant for your goals. And it will even send you daily quotes and motivation to help you to stay mentally and energetically on track with whatever your goals are or whatever it is you're trying to shift or change in your life. So this is my number one most valuable tool and resource, and it's why I'm so passionate about sharing it with all of you. This has been my passion project and my number one secret tool, in a sense, that helps me to shift what's happening in my subconscious mind. I use it and run it in the background during all of these other techniques that I'm about to share with you. And I feel it really helps me on that deeper subconscious level. So if you'd like to explore these subliminals I've created and get started, then you can click the link to get the app in the pinned comment and also in the description box underneath this video. So once you wake up in that state, that baseline state, that is your starting point for this morning routine. That is your baseline starting energy. So as we know, throughout life, you may have some days where you wake up feeling a bit lower, some days where you wake up feeling more energized and inspired. And the beautiful thing about this technique is it will work with you wherever you are and bridge you a step further, or maybe even multiple steps further or higher emotionally and energetically, but it meets you where you are every single day. Many techniques and ways of manifesting are so focused on doing things in one rigid way that it's not really customizing for how you might be feeling in that moment, which, as we know, it can change so drastically from one day to the next, depending on what's going on in your life and what's happening throughout your own personal spiritual journey. And so the thing I love about this technique is that it will help you from wherever you are. It's easily customizable. So the first thing that you want to start with this technique is you're going to begin with the Abraham Hicks emotional guidance scale. And so you can find this scale online. It lists out, I'm going to pull up mine here. It lists out 22 different emotional levels. This is how I like to conceptualize energy, because your emotions are your energy in motion. So being able to identify generally where you are on this scale will help you to identify where your baseline energy currently is. So you're going to have this scale on hand, but the first thing that you're going to do in the morning is you're actually going to meditate. So the thing about this meditation is it works the best the less external input you can receive from your physical world before starting the meditation. And I've learned that through my own experience. So if you can, for example, not check your phone, your texts, your emails, notifications, even putting your phone in do not disturb if you can, or silencing it. And you can do this meditation as quickly and early on in the day as possible. It will be more effective because you would have received less external input from the physical world that can kind of determine your set point or your frequency for you, if that makes sense. The whole purpose of these morning techniques is for you to actually determine your own frequency and energy, to tune into yourself before you're tuning out into the external world. So the less external things that you can check or analyze or tune into before meditating, the better. In fact, if you can start your meditation within like 5 to 15 minutes, that would be absolutely ideal. Usually what I like to do is get up and do like the basic morning things that you may need to do, like brushing your teeth or drinking some water, getting some coffee, whatever you like to do in the morning to kind of settle yourself, just the pure basics, and then getting into a comfortable position and putting on some meditation music. Again, ideally subliminals, so that you are actually deeply reprogramming your subconscious at the same time. And then doing a meditation. Now, the way I like to meditate during this zone of time is to not at all think about trying to visualize anything specific, but to use this as a period of time where I am completely detaching to the best of my ability from anything happening in the physical world. So I like to get into a comfortable position, put on my subliminals, close my eyes, and focus on my breathing, because the breath will connect you back to the body and will help you to retune back into yourself and to tune out what's happening externally. So essentially during this meditation, you want to block out as many of the physical senses as you can, which is why I like to close my eyes, to wear headphones to block out like the auditory senses, and to sit somewhere comfortable so I'm not taking in like too much sensory input physically otherwise. And then to focus on my breathing. So personally, I like to start by trying to lengthen my inhale and then hold for a couple of seconds and then lengthen my exhale, even sometimes counting in my mind until I'm able to very slowly like breathe in. Personally, I like to slowly breathe in for about 30 counts, which does take obviously a lot of time to get to that point where I'm deepening my breath to that point, but I find that it's very relaxing for my body. And then to hold for a couple seconds and then to exhale slowly for that 30 count again, and to do this in a rhythm, sort of like waves on the ocean cycling through until I'm feeling this sense of energetic lightness. During that time, I like to completely detach and remove my attention from anything happening in the physical to the best of my ability. So what you want to do is just whenever a thought comes in your mind, let it pass like a cloud. Do your best not to dwell on it or fixate on it until your mind starts to feel completely clear, until you're able to hold that state of like, in a way, nothingness, like total detachment. That is the ideal state that you are working to achieve during this meditation. Now, it may not happen on day one, but you'll find that every day it gets a little bit easier to get into that meditative state than the day before. And that is true progress in this sense. The reason you want to do this is this actually makes the following technique that I'm going to share so much more powerful, because you're starting from a detached space where essentially you're releasing anything negative that you may have picked up or kind of latched onto that could have been throwing off your vibration or your baseline a little bit. So I personally like to do this for at least about 15 to 20 minutes if you can. Sometimes I find that it can even take up to like 30 minutes to get into that more detached state, but I like to keep it to 15 to 20 minutes if possible. Then the second thing that you're going to do is something called positive aspects, which is a technique that I got from Abraham Hicks' teaching, but I've kind of added a little bit of my own spin to it. So what you want to do is I want you to tune into yourself and to ask yourself after the meditation how you're feeling. So specifically, are you feeling generally pretty good about most things in your life? Or is there something kind of weighing on your mind? Because we all have those mornings where you wake up just kind of generally feeling pretty good. There's nothing really worrying you. And we also all have those mornings where there's something that is bothering you, something that's weighing kind of heavily on your mind. And so let's say that there's something that's weighing on your mind, something that feels like it's worrying you or something you're uncertain about. If you look at the emotional guidance scale, which again, you can find online, I will try to leave some kind of link to like an image of the scale on Google Images or something like that. But on the scale, let's say that you are at level 10. So you're feeling impatient about something. You're feeling like you wish something in your life was moving forward faster than it is. And it's kind of like on your mind, even after meditating and detaching, it's still kind of there. What that tells me is there's some kind of vibrational tune-up that needs to happen in that specific area of your life. And while the temptation may be to just ignore it and to try and focus on visualizing other positive things, the thing is, your energy is so comprehensive. So the effectiveness of this technique hinges on the fact that what you're feeling in one area of your life is naturally going to affect how you're feeling in other areas. So for example, if you're feeling really, really bad or really negative about a particular situation with a friend, it's naturally going to paint or kind of like color how you feel about other areas of your life as well, because you're naturally going to bring that vibration and energy into those other areas of your life. And this is especially true of someone most likely like you, someone who is a deep thinker, someone who feels everything to a great extent, who is most likely also an empath, very energetically sensitive. You are someone who can't compartmentalize your life in the same way that others may be able to. And so when you feel something in one area of your life, it's naturally going to ripple outwards. Everything is going to be very comprehensive for you. And that is also why this technique is so effective, because what you have to acknowledge is when you take the time to recognize how you're feeling about something, even if it's negative, and to bridge those beliefs or those feelings into something better, you aren't just working on that one area of your life. You're literally shifting your whole energetic baseline in a way that is going to positively reflect in every other area of your life as well. So anyway, you're going to identify how you're feeling on that particular subject. And what I want you to do is get a notebook and a pen. And I like to use a completely clean notebook. So every time I do this exercise, I like to rip out all the pages and throw them away, which I know sounds kind of counterproductive, but I feel like it's actually very productive from an energy perspective, because you're signaling to your mind that every day is a clean slate, that you're not bringing any of those old vibrations into your now current vibration. You are focusing on the now and how you feel now. So you're going to write the subject at the top of the page. Let's say you write like your friend's name or whatever, because that's what you're feeling negative about in some way. Then what you're going to do is you're going to ask yourself, how am I truly feeling about this subject? And the thing about this is you want to be completely honest with yourself. So don't try to put a Band-Aid on it or to write down how you want to be feeling or how you should be feeling, quote unquote. You have to have complete self-honesty. This is part of the process that actually takes a lot of practice. Being honest with yourself, like, how am I actually feeling? And journal a little bit, just stream of consciousness, how you're actually feeling about that person or situation. And then you can revisit the emotional label and make sure that it fits. So like sometimes you'll start writing about something and realize, wait, I thought I was just feeling a little irritated, but I'm actually feeling worried, which is lower on the scale. So you're going to take that kind of stream of consciousness and identify honestly exactly how you're feeling about that situation, whatever it is for you. And in parentheses next to the statement that you wrote in your journal, you're going to write the emotional word. So in this instance, at the top of the page, you may have your friend's name, and then you may have like a number 1, and then a whole stream of consciousness about how you're feeling, your starting point. And then in parentheses, you may put irritation if that's how you're feeling about that friend or situation. Then what you're going to do is you're going to number the next statement, number 2, and you're going to try and write a sentence, not a positive sentence, not a positive affirmation, but that resonates where you are now, but gives you even just the slightest feeling of relief at all. And so let's say you're impatient. This statement may actually be pessimistic. So the statement that you're writing down may be a negative statement, but at least it feels a little bit better than that impatience. So you might write something that's kind of just generally negative, but at least it's a little bit less specific to your situation and maybe helps you feel just the slightest bit better. And again, the purpose is not to put a Band-Aid on anything, but to slowly bridge that energy from a heavier place to a less heavier place and to keep moving up the scale like that. So again, the most important thing through this process is not trying to be overly positive when you're feeling negative, but to understand that if you're feeling on a certain level on the emotional scale, energetically, because of just the mechanics of energy, you're not going to be able to jump several steps higher all at once. So for example, if you are feeling impatient, which is like a level 10 on the scale, then you might be able to jump up 2 levels to like boredom or apathy, but you're not going to be able to jump all the way from feeling impatient to feeling optimistic. That's where most people get discouraged when they try to do energy work or to reframe things for themselves. They try to make too big of a jump. So they'll feel really badly about something and then try to put a Band-Aid on it and make themselves feel positive about it instead of slowly working their way up one baby step at a time and recognizing it as a win if you can go from feeling impatient to just feeling apathetic, like that feeling of just being bored or just letting go or feeling more detached from it, that's a major win because you've shifted that heavy energy. And from that state of boredom, maybe you can write a statement that feels more like contentment or more like, okay, I'm okay with how things are. And from there, maybe you can reach for something hopeful and then something optimistic, and on the scale you go. Now, every time you write a statement, I want you to put in parentheses the energy level it corresponds to. And again, keep kind of working your way in this energy, trying to journal your way into that sense of just the slightest feeling of relief, and keep doing that until you bridge yourself as high as you feel that you can go. And it's important not to push yourself too far. For example, if you're feeling really, really heavy about something, like down in deep discouragement, maybe you can only get yourself up to the place of feeling disappointed. But at least that's self-honest movement, and you've moved energy. You've moved your whole baseline to a better place. And tomorrow, when you take another run at it, maybe if you're still feeling that disappointment, you'll notice, wait, I woke up the next day and I didn't feel as discouraged. I just felt this lighter feeling of disappointment. And from there, you may be able to work it all the way up into contentment, or then from there into hopefulness. So the way that this energy technique works is every day your baseline on that specific subject or thing is going to feel a little bit better than it did the day before, until you get to a place where it's a non-issue for you, where you wake up and you actually feel hopeful about it or even optimistic. And so that is how you can use this technique to shift things that are maybe specifically on your mind or weighing on your mind. And for me, some days there may be multiple things that I'm working through like that. So there could be like 2, 3, or 4 subjects, and you'll often find that they're actually intertwined. The interesting thing is, often when you work through one subject and you lift your baseline using this energy technique, you may visit a different subject and find that you actually feel a little better about that other subject than you thought you would, because you already shifted the energy. Again, everything is so connected here. So this is essentially like the second part of this technique, the part where you're shifting energy on subjects that may be feeling a little bit negative or weighing on your mind. And again, this is only for days where you do have subjects like that, because other days you may wake up feeling pretty good. And I will get into the technique for that. So essentially, through this part of the exercise, I like to make it my goal to write 100 statements total, or 100 positive aspects total, throughout all of this energy work combined. So, for example, if it takes me 25 statements to get the energy moving on something I feel negative about, but then otherwise I feel really good in my life and I feel like I'm back up to that good higher set point, then I might do 75 positive aspects, just amplifying the good feeling in all the other areas of my life. On other days, it may take me 100 statements of journaling in different areas just to work through something really heavy that I might be feeling in different areas of my life. And if that's the case, then I may not get to the part where I'm just journaling appreciation or positive aspects, because that would be kind of like trying to put a Band-Aid on something when I'm trying to shift something that's heavier on an energy level. So you kind of get what I'm saying, that like, it doesn't have to be 100 for you. By the way, I know that that might seem kind of daunting. Maybe for you, it might just be like 30 things, 30 statements, or 50, or whatever works for you time-wise. I personally like to go for 100 just because this technique is really the core of all of my energy work. I feel like it's deeply therapeutic in a way. It's very self-therapeutic, because from one perspective, it's almost like what therapists would call cognitive behavioral therapy, where you will reframe limiting beliefs or ideas or negative situations into a better feeling place, but combining CBT with more spiritually based techniques. So personally, I find it to be so effective that I like to do it for 100 statements to really work through anything that needs shifting, and also to really get the energy positively moving and amplified in the areas of my life that I do feel good about. So if you wake up on a day and you don't feel anything negative, anything that needs to be worked through, on the scale, you'll see that the tipping point is at it's between boredom and contentment. So if you're feeling contentment in your life or better in most areas of your life, there's nothing specifically causing you to feel more on the negative end of that scale, then instead of doing that energy shifting work, you're pretty much going to just amplify that good feeling. So what I like to do here on a day like that, where there's nothing specifically bothering me or weighing on me that needs to be shifted, what I will do is I will take 5 main areas of my life that feel the most relevant to me. So you can pick any areas of your life that feel important to you, but I find that some of the common areas that seem to work the best for people are one area related to either their physical body or their health or their appearance. So you could just title this area body or whatever seems right for you. The second seems to be like career or business if you own your own business. The third seems to be often your financial situation or money in general. The fourth may be relationships in your life, whether that's a specific romantic relationship that is most important to you, your love life generally, or just your friendships and relationships in general. And the fifth could be just like one of your choosing that's unique to you, or it could just be your life generally. So kind of like all encompassing in a way, how you're feeling in a general sense. So the top areas that I would recommend considering, and again, you can shift it for you, just to recap, would be body, business or career, money, relationships, and self/life generally, let's say. Personally, I feel like 5 categories is a really kind of even number to have for this. It covers a lot of different areas of life. And again, you can sort of mold this to work for you, and you can adapt this technique to fit into the areas of your life that feel most relevant, the things that you personally seem to give the most thought to or think about the most. And so on a day like this, where you generally feel pretty good about most things in your life, what you're going to do is simply write positive aspects about each of those areas of your life. So again, I will use a clean notebook page, and I really find that writing out these statements seems to amplify this process and enhance it, although it's not necessary. For example, if you're really on the go or you don't really have time to do all of this in writing, you could also keep a counter app on your phone, like one of those free ones, and just have different counters that are labeled these different areas of your life, and then mentally do the exercise where you're thinking those positive statements or positive aspects and then counting them on that app on your phone at the same time. So that could be kind of like a shorthand on the go way to do this part of the exercise. But really, I do notice more effects and benefits when I actually write out the process. So you're going to write the subject at the top of a page, and then you're going to number 1 through 20 as you go, writing statements that feel good to you about that particular subject. So you don't really even need the emotional scale for this part of the exercise. If you're already knowing that you're feeling at least contentment or even better in these areas of your life, then you can just start writing statements about things that you are grateful for, things you appreciate, maybe things you're looking forward to or reflecting on from the past that you really enjoyed or that you desire, or, whatever the case is. Basically, you're going to look for positive aspects in this area of your life, things that make you happy, things that bring you joy, things that light you up, whether it's something that may have happened in the past, something currently that you're experiencing, or something you're looking forward to in the future. And so you're going to notice as you write that you feel this building excitement and momentum, almost like the energy is kind of spinning and moving in that area of your life, because from an energetic perspective, that's exactly what is happening. You are literally amplifying that energy in that area of your life and moving it to an even better feeling place, becoming even more magnetically charged in that area of your life. Now, of course, if you start writing these positive aspects, but then suddenly start feeling some worry come up or some negative emotion, that would be your sign that you may be trying to put a Band-Aid on something, and that it may be more helpful to revisit the technique we talked about earlier, where you identify where you're at on the scale, if it's more negative, and start to use journaling to work your way up into a slightly better feeling place. Because for this positive aspecting to work, you have to be on the upper part of the scale. And if you're feeling worry or something negative in that area of your life, you'll notice that you'll feel a tension within you as you are writing these positive statements. But of course, if you are truly on the upper part of the scale, then when you start writing these positive statements, you'll just amplify that good feeling and feel it getting better and better and making you more and more magnetic. You may even notice things literally starting to shift, like new ideas suddenly occurring to you that feel really inspired. Or I've noticed even that sometimes I'll be journaling about something and it will literally shift in real time. Like I could be writing positive statements about a person and then suddenly they reach out to me, because we're all so connected in this quantum field of consciousness that when you shift how you're feeling about something or about a situation, you're literally moving yourself in space and time, which is what makes this such an effective manifestation technique. So anyway, you'll do this for all 5 areas of your life. And again, maybe it's 10 statements each, so 50 statements total. Maybe you only have time for 5 statements each, so it's 25 statements total. Whatever works with your own personal routine and schedule, because any amount of doing this will be really powerful, energetic work for you. And so then the third and final part of this technique that I personally like to do is to really tune myself to the frequency that I want to embody, to kind of lock in all of that work by reading or listening to something that is really inspirational for me and that keeps me tuned to that frequency level. So personally, I like to read an Abraham Hicks book because I feel that the material is really high vibrational and resonates with a lot of what I am feeling works for me right now on my spiritual path. But for you, this could be some kind of inspiring book. This could be a podcast. This could be an audiobook, whatever this is for you. And I will do a set amount of time. So for me, I like to read 20 pages. For you, maybe it's a certain number of pages. Maybe it's a certain amount of time that you like to be reading or listening to something, like 20 or 30 minutes. But I just find that this really inundates your mind and your energy with something positive that will tune you to a higher level frequency before you start tuning out into the world. It sets the tone for your entire day. And so what I've noticed as a result of doing this technique consistently is that, first of all, it feels like a bigger picture comes into focus more clearly, where it's easier to tap into that broader vision of my life. From a psychological perspective, what this technique is doing is it's working with your RAS, your reticular activating system, which is really defining your reality as you consciously perceive it. Because all of us are receiving endless amounts of information, but our conscious mind has to determine what information it's going to take in to then give us this picture of our own reality. And so what this technique does is it helps you to tune yourself to more of the aspects of your reality that you are loving, that you're enjoying, that bring you happiness, that make you feel loved, that cause you to feel inspired or excited. And the more that you activate your reticular activating system in a way that notices the good and the positive and the love and the abundance, the more you amplify those things in your experience, because you will then notice more of those kinds of things and opportunities as they appear in your reality. So I know that this video was a little bit long-winded and also different from many of my other recent videos, but I promised that I was going to talk about my personal morning routine that I use to shift energy in my own life. And this is something that I've wanted to talk about for such a long time. Again, this technique is something that I've been refining and cultivating for the past couple years now. And I have never found anything that works so effectively. But again, especially doing this combined with subliminals, which for me personally feel essential for me, because of how much I notice them helping me to open and shift my subconscious at the same time. But coupled together, these have been the most powerful tools for me. So if you would like to start using the subliminals I've created to do this technique, or just in general in your life to help you work with your own subconscious mind and shift heavier energy you're dealing with, and also to help you to align more with those desired aspects of your reality, then you can, of course, check out my subliminals on my app, Sound and Soulful, which is now available in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. But I will leave a direct download link to it underneath this video in the pinned comment and description box. If anything here has connected with you or felt inspiring for you, then I would love to hear from you in the comments section. I also would love to know what your personal routines and rituals are for working with energy and manifesting in your own life, because I really love this community of mutual support that we're creating here on YouTube. And I am so endlessly grateful to all of you for being part of that. Thank you for being here. If you do resonate with my voice and my energy, of course, I would love for you to subscribe and join our beautiful virtual space here on YouTube. Also, turn on notifications so you get notified whenever I post new inspiring content like this that could help you to feel inspired all day long and manifest more of your dreams in life. Otherwise, I am sending you all so much love and light energy. Have an amazing remainder of your day, and I will connect with you here again in the next video.